Well, we'll go ahead and jump in because there's a lot of good stuff here tonight that I want to kind of go over. And welcome to class number 4. You got the faithful, the name. But I got some extras for some of the other folks. And everybody's got one of the class handouts. So this handout, you guys probably want to hang on to this because as you'll see, we got some real pearls of wisdom. And first of all, we'll recap where we've been. Of course, we did the Dave Ramsey baby steps. So class number 1, we talked about having hope and how God does want us to prosper. And if we really are serious about it, and we lay our situation before Him, He's going to bless us. And we may have some consequences of past decisions or some challenges. It's not always going to be easy, but if we persevere, God does want to bless us, and having a plan. And I think working the steps, the Dave Ramsey steps, or something very, very similar, eliminating debt, having a budget, tracking your spending, having an emergency fund, using the snowball method, and then we're freed up to start doing some other, more constructive things. We talked about saving and investing. Last week we talked about just how work is something that, it's still God's job. It's not, God owns everything, and that our job, the attitude we should have about it is that it's God's job and we're a steward of that job. And again, working to better that situation or to be Christ-like in that endeavor. We talked about generosity, and we talked about maybe some of these same principles, but bringing them forward to kids when that's a good time. So today we're going to hit on the subject of stewardship and just look at that very briefly, and then mostly we're going to spend going through, if you look at pages 2, 3, and 4. In the very first class I talked about Mike Foley's notes, and that I would have them available at the end as one of the resources. And I thought, what better way to kind of summarize some things we've talked about, as well as some things we haven't talked about, maybe things like buying cars and some stuff like that, some real practicals. And that'll be fun. I think we'll have to kind of move through it pretty quick, but I'm sure there'll be some neat things to discuss. So, let's do the spiritual or the stewardship part first. So this is just, again, we've been talking about this already, really, but I want to formalize some of the talking about stewardship and how God's really entrusted us as Christians that He wants us to succeed. He wants us to do a good job, keeping track of our flock, knowing the condition of our flock, and those types of things. Some scriptures that we know already. Look, I'll go over Psalm 8:6 here real quick, and I gave a little part of the psalm. This is talking about God and how it's a Psalm of David, and he's talking about men. And in verse 5 talks about that it's the one, you made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. Talking about people. Verse 6, you made them rulers over the works of your hands and put everything under their feet. So God's, we're really stewards of this planet. Now, of course, we know that because of, our world really doesn't follow God's precepts, and, it's a mess. But I think the concept here is that from God's perspective, we are stewards over things, and in our little world, our little universe individually, our sphere of influence, I think He expects us to think about it that way. That let's do the best with what He's given us. Mm-hmm. And another good one here in 1 Corinthians chapter 4. We'll take a quick look at that one. Okay. And this is talking about how we're servants of Christ, verse 1. And then he says, now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. So again, that concept of being a good steward, we've been given a trust. Now, this is a spiritual trust, but it's also a trust of everything, really. I think that same concept. I don't think it's a stretch to say that, we're, God's really wanting us to be good stewards. And then Matthew 25, we had looked at this, I think, week 1 or 2, the parable of the bags of gold. And I was actually, where's the one, the parable of the talents? It's actually the same one. The newer version in the NIV is bags of gold. But the talents, it's that concept that God's fair. And we're not going to read through that, but we know that, he gives each person according to their ability. So the one that had 5 bags of gold or 5 talents, when the master comes back, hey, I doubled it. Now you got 10 talents. And God said, great job, good and faithful servant. And then the one with 3 or 2 talents, they double it. And then the one servant just hid it because he said, I know you're hard, and I didn't want to. I got scared, so I just hid it. And God called him a wicked and lazy servant because he didn't even put it on deposit with the bankers. He gets some interest. He just, didn't take the concept of being a steward for the master the way he should have. It's spiritual sense, and it's I think that the point of that parable is God's fair, but he's requiring that we not be lazy or wicked, that we not just blow it off, or hey, I'm not going to really take this concept seriously with what I've been given. And obviously, I think our lives can be a lot better, a lot more enriched. Obviously, you guys are in this class, so you're concerned about that. But that's a great parable. I put in here. I know in my years, I've run across a lot of cautionary examples. I think of lottery winners that, for some people, they're not a good steward, and maybe they win $5 million in the lottery, and there's so many. You can Google this and get statistics that, a year or 2 later, they've got nothing left.
Within 5 years.
Yeah, within 5 years. Yeah. And
they're worse off than they were when they had.
Yeah. And again, they're going to have, people with investment ideas and cousins that they haven't seen in 20 years coming out of the woodwork, and all their old friends are back in the picture, and people want to. It's just they're not going to be good stewards in many cases, not always, but it's very scary how lottery winners and sometimes professional athletes, and these guys or gals get the big contract up front, and they think, well, I'm going to get the supermax contract later, and they don't know they're an injury away, and they could have had, and some do have a money manager. I was talking to a financial guy, and this was a while back, but probably some of you know Derek Jeter, who played for the New York Yankees, and when he was at Michigan State, they introduced him to a financial advisor, and this financial advisor had worked with Derek Jeter up in Detroit. So I thought that was, Derek Jeter's been very successful, and I think he's been a good steward. But not all these athletes does it work out that way. So just to remember that there's some other scriptures just about this topic. So I don't think we're going to belabor that anymore because we've been kind of leading to that. I know Jacob mentioned it last week, how following the steps puts us in position to be able to have more choices and do a lot more. When you have the debt, when you're first starting out sometimes, or if you've made bad decisions, you're very limited. You may not even have that $1,000 for the emergency fund, and just a transmission going out away from really being in a bad way. Okay. All right. I down at the bottom here on this first page, just some additional resources. The Dave Ramsey stuff. I had the website. He's got a show. There's a Sirius channel 107 that he's on the radio, but he's on a lot of like AM and FM stations. I had not looked up here locally what he's on. they've got at least 5 different podcasts. I think there's one for entrepreneurs, there's one for leadership, there's one for real estate, there's like the regular one, and there's a 5th one. But there's just some good Dave Ramsey stuff that you can access for free. Okay, and then obviously we've talked about some of you might want to consider, and I would recommend if you're on the fence, do it. Signing up for one of the Dave Ramsey, the official course, which will be 9 weeks long. It does have an investment, I think, maybe $95, but it'd be well worth it. I mean, one good financial decision covers the $95, believe me. So, also, Crown Financial Ministries, there's a course for $29.95. It would not be, it'd be a do-it-yourself. You wouldn't have the Zoom meeting with that one. But I've always found their stuff to be good. Their stuff's very spiritually oriented. I know Dave Ramsey has a version with scriptures. Crown has a ton of scriptures. A lot of the scriptures we've used here.
I would almost suggest to do the Crown first, because it's all the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And then do Dave Ramsey second.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to have that financial intelligence to comprehend everything that he talks about.
Yeah, I think that could be a good option.
And Crown is offered at other churches. I don't know how you figure out who has it.
Yeah. Yep. There's lots of resources, I think, is the bottom line. And
if you feel like this class has been good, but it's just kind of barely scratching the surface, I mean, that's true. I started with the Dave Ramsey one, and that's kind of how I got my financial life turned around. So I would say if you feel like this stuff is making sense, but you're not getting all of the help that you need, I would recommend. I would start with the Dave Ramsey one. I haven't taken the Crown Financial one, but it answers all the questions that we haven't about how much insurance do you need, and how do you get a will, and how do I, just all of the, it goes way deeper than we're going in this class.
Yep.
So it'll get you where you need to go if you can commit.
Yep. Yep. I think the class has been a good commercial, and that's why I think we've been a little liberal in borrowing some of the information here. Some other good stuff, your bank, your credit union, other financial websites, like a lot of the 401k providers, I know like Fidelity and some of the others, they have financial planning calculators, they got articles, there's all kinds of stuff. Just if you had a brokerage account, there's a lot of good stuff. So you might be surprised at what your institution that you have already a relationship with may have online, or resources that are free and keep you real busy going through all that stuff. And I listed some of the top 10. I've used some of these: Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, Motley Fool, CNBC is on TV. They track the stock market. Investopedia, Koyfin and Finbold, I think, are more have some good information. CNN Markets, The Economist is kind of a little more of an old school Wall Street type publication, but they have some stuff on their website. So anyway, all right. So again, I also put my phone number, email. Happy to, if you guys ever have any questions. As you've probably figured out, I'm kind of a generalist. I don't know, like real estate's a real weak area for me. I mean, we own a house, but I don't. That's not a strong suit. But again, talking to a lot of advisors, and we can try to, point you in the right direction with some different things. Okay, so feel free to reach out to me. Jacob may share his information too. All right, so let's jump in and get into the good stuff. So Mike Foley's notes. And Mike, we talked about in class number 1. He was just a great, beloved member of our church. But he was certified for Dave Ramsey, taught Dave Ramsey, and I co-taught some classes with him. And it was way back before COVID. I know Thomas Hood, I believe up in West Lafayette, is also certified and taught in Atlanta when they were down there. But anyway, Mike, when he passed away, his wife Trinda, This was a little bit after he had passed, but she was going through some of his office stuff, and she said, Rich, would you like to come over and see if there's anything you want to pick through of Mike's stuff from the class and some of his notes and things? And I said, sure, absolutely. So I came over, and I've consolidated some things here. So I had like 5 pages. I kind of consolidated it into 3. But you guys have, this is the like the Proverbs of Mike, if you will. Wise sayings that are generally true. So let's go to here, and we're just going to go through some of these. I may skip over a few of them, but we'll go through and maybe some good comment, and then we'll wrap up. So I like this at the top. It says, these are Mike Foley's opinions, not the Bible, but close. Ha! That was Mike's humor. But the idea was, so looking at the big picture, not the minutia. And so he says, pay your bills as soon as you see them. Avoid relying on your memory to pay your bills. Do it right away. I know most banks these days, if you set up an automatic, you can set it up and actually even have that payment. The payment's due on the 17th. It'll pay it on the 17th for you, but you can set it up right away when you get the bill. So that's what he's talking about there. And then this helps too. When you do it right away, you have a more realistic picture of what your cash is, and you have to kind of plan it out, spreadsheet it, or whatever you do. College for kids. So the college choice plan, and again, some of you, this is just good information to know that Indiana has a great 529 college plan. And short version, these things can be used for any accredited institution, not just IU or Purdue or University of Indianapolis, but trade schools. That's right, a culinary institute, or as long as they're accredited. It could be aircraft mechanic. It could be, Harvard. It could be, so any accredited school anywhere in the country. And then the other thing is the owner of these accounts, you can switch over to a new beneficiary. So our first son, once he was done, I put a little more money over to our second son. Because, first son was graduated, he's got a job, okay. Our younger son's still at IU, and we did that. So, but there is a 20% tax credit on your Indiana return. This is not it's an actual tax credit, and not a deduction, it's a credit. And this is actually dated, it's on the first $7,500 per year. So that's 1 credit per family, but 20% of $7,500 you would get a credit back. So keep that in mind. We just had a new grandson born, and we're going to start one for him. Okay, keep it moving here. Stay away from credit cards. Because if you're not paying the balance on credit cards, you should stop using them. So we talked about that, paying off the balances. I know some of us are doing that. But if you're not in a position to do it, or have assets and savings so that you will not get into trouble, and be able to pay those off, you should stop using them. He says, would you go to a loan officer to borrow money for the Big Mac? Debit cards are great. Debit cards, you're just taking money right out of your checking. It's just a debit out of your checking. Okay, so we've talked about that. Have a will. So some of you, might think about that. Some of you might need, if you have assets, if you die without a will in the state of Indiana will determine who gets those assets. That's calling dying intestate. So you don't want that. If you have a more complex, more assets, looking at trusts can make sense. Above and beyond the scope of the class today to talk about that, but you can get a simple will for probably almost free. You may have legal services available through work as a benefit. They can probably help you with that. And you can always update it. So as your situation gets more complicated, you can do that, update along the way. Okay, cars. We haven't talked about cars. Pay cash for cars and other items. Even with a 0%, pay the cash. You see these ads, buy the new Chevy Tahoe and it's 0%. Well, the 0% for a while, but but pay cash for cars. I've saved a ton of money. I buy used. I try to buy good used cars. I pay cash. It's just a conviction I have. Yeah, get it. So that's where the saving comes into effect. We talked about having that, medium-term savings, like the, not the long-term goals of retirement, but something you're going to need in the next, 1, 2, 3 years. You pay off a car payment, you have that money, live with that car for a while and pay that into a savings for your next car.
Yeah, just speaking to, I heard recently that car loan debt just reached the same size as student loan debt. I don't know why there's so much car debt going around right now, but it is not worth it. It's not an asset. It's a tool that's going to break and you're going to have to get a new one. And so just, a $400, $500 a month car loan, just don't do it. It's silly. It's not, it's going to break. You're going to have to get a new one. It happens every day. Just don't, I don't know. I highly, highly, highly recommend against that. It's a trap that is going around right now, and just don't fall into it. It'll pull you to the bottom of the river.
It used to be that car loan would be for 4 years. Now
8 years, 9
8
years.
years, 9 years.
You won't even have the car that long.
No, you pay the car twice over at that.
For used cars
For
too,
used cars.
which is
And don't buy with your heart, buy with your conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Practicality. What would my grandmother drive? What would last me 10 years? Think that way rather than it's flashy. I don't know what cool it is.
Yeah.
And you can research the models. Like we have members of our family. They're all Toyotas or Hondas, used. Finding good. You could do far worse than doing that, and just paying. And there's some other good models out there. I'm not just saying that, but that's a good way to go. You're going to have reliable transportation. You're not going to be embarrassed going somewhere with a good used, Corolla or a CRV or whatever. So get advice. Again, this is one of these areas to get advice.
My mom always tells us to get the car checked, even if it's used, before buying it, because otherwise if you just buy it and then it has issues later, it's kind of well.
Yeah.
So take it to your dealership that you like and
Yeah.
check first.
That's a good idea. Mechanics, the Carfax.
Master mechanic, look at it.
Yes.
Very specifically, master mechanic.
Yeah. Good idea. Okay, get advice. Again, above the topic, or above our ability to go as deep dive into this as we'd like to, but car leases too. They can make it very appealing. It's only this, and you're driving a brand new car, and you have no equity. You're going to have to watch the mileage you put on it. There's a lot of problems with that. Okay.
You're renting a car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Overpriced.
Yeah.
And you're paying tax on it too.
That's right. So anyway, getting advice. We're getting advice from somebody. Mike had said, don't get advice from broke people. No, there are people around that have been successful. Like I would definitely pick Jacob's brain. Because he's been there, done that on the debt elimination. If I was having challenges, I would go to him and maybe get, if nothing else, some encouragement. But get advice. The car topic, might be one of those, or buying a house. Term life insurance. So life insurance, the life insurance industry tries to sell products. I'm oversimplifying, but they'll try to sell you, hey, this is an investment. It's permanent, full life insurance, and here's your projection of, you're going to put these premiums in, and you're going to have this much down the road, and in the meantime, you've also got this life insurance protection. Well, the old rule was, I think the wise rule, buy term insurance for a lot less premium. You can get a lot more coverage, because especially when you're let me tell you, when you're married, you have a mortgage, and you have young kids, that's when you need the maximum protection. So you need more insurance, which term insurance would get you, and then take the savings and invest that money. Pay off debt, and then get more of that investment program going. Separate them out. And believe me, these insurance agents that work for some of these companies, so in the whole life, they're trained to overcome this objection. But ultimately, they will sell you term insurance if you say, well, I'm only buying a term policy, so I'm going to go elsewhere.
So
Select Quote will have good, top-rated companies. I know, just talked to somebody that bought 10 years of level premium life insurance, a good amount of policy with Pacific Life, which is like a AA+ rated company. They're not going to go belly up. And it was simple, Select Quote. So, yeah, Marion, over to you.
So one of the things is, I lost my mind. I don't know what I was going to say.
Check with your employer too, because some of your employers offer life insurance as well as part of their package. It's usually at the end of the year, and it's usually at a discount for you as an employee. So check with your employer to see if it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then again, because it's term, if you leave the employment, it won't be in effect anymore. A lot of them will automatically have a benefit of up to $50,000, just throwing that in as a benefit. It's almost pennies to them, and they're able to offer a benefit to the employees, and it's not taxable to you, $50,000 worth of face value. So that's some insurance right there.
So having been a salesman, top salesman in the United States for companies, I'm going to tell you that anything I said, you better look at it and make sure it is in writing. If it's not in writing, you mentioned such and such. Can you show me where that is on the contract, please? Initially. Because bottom line is, if it's not in the paper, they're lying through their teeth. I was a Christian at the time, and it's hard to have people up against you that are just promising the world to people, and nobody reads a contract anymore, it seems like.
Yeah, it's 20 pages of small stuff. So.
Yeah, I'll say on term life insurance too, if you're single and you're not married and you don't have kids, you don't need life insurance. If you are married, it would be good to think about getting life insurance, but I think this is specifically speaking to especially people who are married and have young children and a mortgage and things that if they passed away, their partner would be, out of luck. That's when you need life insurance. But if you're single and you just have your own stuff and you're not married, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and then when you're empty nest and have the house paid off,
and you're self-insured.
You really could self-insure or just enough to cover the funeral, which should be, $10,000, $20,000 max. So anyway, get advice on that, but term insurance, 99.9% of the time. Okay, the tithing, Mike just has some scriptures here saying Jesus did not encourage people to abandon the practice. We talked about giving last week. Loaning money. So loaning money, you can divide friends, families. We've already seen debt can be a very destructive thing. So give it, don't loan it. And it says that, if you can't afford to give it, then you can't afford to loan it. And it could really create and I've seen this kind of stuff go on between family members. It happens all the time. So, just give it or don't do that. Same, very similarly, co-signing. I think the bottom line is, if you co-sign for somebody, be prepared. You're like, hey, I'd almost give the person the money. I'd give it to them, but I do want to help them out and help them develop their credit. And she's shaking her head. So I've actually done that for somebody before, but I knew, I was in my heart of hearts, it was a brother and, he needed help. And I was prepared to give him the money, but this was the way to go. in that instance, very rare. And don't do it unless you're resigned to pay for it. Don't do it.
As a co-signer, you kill somebody, they can come after me and everything I own. So I'm not co-signing for anybody, and I don't want anybody to co-sign for me.
Okay, well, yeah, and there's some specific situations, but I think the
I'd much rather go
point,
take the money and give it to them.
yeah, the point is, yeah, so almost, 99% of the time, don't do that. And if you did do it, be prepared and not, because it's like a loan. It's like a loan. And we just talked about how that can create problems. So saving, we talked about that. Little at a time, little by little. Principle in the Bible. We can't rely on the lottery. Sometimes we may have some sort of a lucky break or a windfall or something like that. Be wise with that. If somebody did win the lottery, again, we talked about how people don't, for the most part, handle things properly. Okay, company retirement plan. We talked about those 401ks and the 401k millionaires. If you don't have one, again, you can set up IRAs to be very, very similarly with, where you're automatically taking money out of your checking and try to really juice those things up as much as you can, especially when your plan comes to fruition. You pay off your debt, you're able to save more, do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking to the 401k thing, so just as soon as you can start, as soon as you have your debt and everything paid off, I feel like there's a lot of stuff going around about millennials will never retire and Gen Z will never retire and the economy is this bad and it's never going to happen for us. If you never save, then that is correct.
Yeah.
You will never retire. But it comes at you fast. If you save consistently and then you don't look at it for several years and then all of a sudden you check your balance and you're like, whoa, that's the power of consistency. And also, saving with the benefit of matching and stuff like that. Just start as soon as you can and just set it and forget it. I think that's like a common adage. Just don't cheat it. Just set it and don't worry about it and let it do what it's going to do and then just be consistent. It works. It definitely works.
Yeah, it does.
The match is free money to you. If you've got a matching program through your work, that's free money. Take it.
Yep.
Do not let that go.
Yep. A lot of the 401ks will let you automatically increase to stair step it up. So every year, bump it up by 1% a year. Another good tip is, again, paying off a bill, and maybe you've gotten completely out of debt now. Maybe you can juice up. That could be reward yourself by bumping up your 401k by 1% right then on the spot.
Also, in your work situation, find out when you are fully vested. They never seem to want to talk about that. And generally, it's anywhere from 3 to 8 years where you're, if you work just 3 more months, all of a sudden you got thousands of dollars free that you get when you need to work.
Yeah, and legally, the plan sponsor has to provide you what's called a plan document that will tell you that vesting schedule. So you can probably get it online on your 401k provider, but they legally have to give you that plan document. So that's a good point. All right, well, let's keep it moving here. Just it talks about find things you and your friends and family enjoy that don't cost as much money. There are fun things to do. Just take a walk down in the canal or something. And I'm not saying you can't ever have fun, but there's some free things you can do, especially free concerts. There's a lot now that the weather's gotten warmer. There's some good stuff to do. Okay. Let's see. He's talking about setting goals. College plan, pay cash for cars, pay off the house in 5 years. It is possible. So no matter what the realistic goal, stretch goal, challenging goal for you is, set those goals. Age 60, this long-term care, this is actually insurance that would pay for a nursing home. And it's cheaper at age 60 than trying to get it at age 75.
So
So-
the cost now is $6,000 plus a month. So if I am one of those sick people, can you imagine paying $6,000 for anything for a month? And that's on the cheap end.
Yeah,
That's the cheap end.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so be aware that is out there, and that kind of around that age 60 is a good time frame. You can still get reasonable premiums. Yeah, talking about just maybe going through periodically and, hey, is my Wi-Fi, is my the channels I'm in, my subscriptions, is everything pretty tightened up? Do I feel like I'm getting a good deal on my cell service? Am I, things bundled? Just making sure, because they raise these things. I know we just got our Netflix raised. And they don't just raise them like $5. They raise them, they're or 3% a year, like inflation, right? But they raise them substantially. So just be aware of what, I think that's just keeping an eye on what's going on and see how you're paying on stuff like that.
So you don't rotate, like, at Thanksgiving and holidays, they get these deals that it's $2 a month for 3 months. Take advantage of that, and then all of a sudden, President's Day is coming up, and all of a sudden another deal.
Yeah, so you could, that's a good, if you wanted to, you could do like Hulu. Now I'm switching, introductory rates, and when the introductory rate runs out, go to another one. You could do that. You're gonna have to manage it. You're gonna have to keep track of that. So the point is, again, that's a great suggestion, but just keeping an eye on, those things, and are you getting the value? You may have some subscriptions that I'm not even using this thing anymore and I'm paying for it.
Yeah, to speak to that just briefly, so it's number one was pay your bills as you see them. You can put them on auto pay. However, I would recommend, so Danielle and I have a cadence of every 2 weeks. We go through and we look at every single thing that came out of our bank account.
Good for you.
And that's
Excellent.
That's to make sure, because first of all, it shows you how much you were spending.
Yes.
And so there's no like, oh my gosh, I was spending that much money. It's like, no, I know what I'm spending. And then also you catch things like subscriptions that you signed up for. Like, oh my gosh, I got by the Adobe Suite, because I switched jobs and I purchased it to update my portfolio for work, and I never canceled it. And the only reason we caught it was because Danielle went through and she was like, "What is this?" And then I realized what it was. And then there's things will just pop up every now and then, and I signed up for a free trial and I forgot to cancel it. And that, if you're going through and you have this monthly cadence or however you want to do it, that keeps a lid on all of those unnecessary expenses that make you feel like, where is all my money going? You can nip that right in the bud.
That's excellent.
So,
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly a real life example right there.
It is kind of annoying, but it would save us a lot of money.
But one of the stinkers is I had a subscription, and it was supposed to reoccur, rebill in a month's time. They billed me a month earlier, and they had no number that I could reach them to try to get the money back.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I learned my lesson.
We got one where our internet provider, Spectrum, they just keep raising the bill, and they don't say anything, and they don't send us anything. They just $2 every month, and it's still cheaper than the other service providers, but I'm like, y'all think you're being slick, and you're not. I see exactly what you're doing.
Our internet just went up $10 a month.
Yeah, and they won't tell you. They'll just charge you more.
Yeah. So anyway.
But if you're paying attention, then you won't get taken advantage of.
Know the condition of your flux.
Mhm.
Yeah, but even then, you can call service providers and negotiate.
Mhm.
You can.
I've done that with phone bills, I've done that with Wi-Fi, I'm like, okay, I use all the stuff, what's there for students, what's there for this, I only need this much, and
That's
Yeah,
good.
if they know you're getting ready to leave, they'll say, oh, well, what can we do?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we can give you,
Wait.
we can give you that introductory rate.
at one point, I was almost gonna get a phone bill for like $20-something. That was not advertised,
Yeah.
and then I was like,
Good, yeah, you gotta be wise, yeah.
Yeah, I pay a lot of my subscriptions with PayPal, so it sends me an email, and then I can see, sends me an email every time they bill, so every month I'll get an email and I can see if they raised their subscription.
Yeah.
Then I know
That's
maybe
smart.
my student account, it expired or something, and so now it's like $8 for Spotify. Or with PayPal, I think it's easier to get reimbursement as well, or not reimbursement, like get your money back if you didn't want to go after the first month. You wanted to like stop your subscription. So I like PayPal.
Good, I like that. There's all kinds of tools. That's just another example of a tool that you can use to help you manage your finances. That's great. Okay, let's keep it moving here. We're almost through this list. So buying a home, and I have found this to be true. Mike was talking about how when you're going in that process, they do want the real estate agent gets paid as a percentage. So he or she is trying to, they get paid more on a $300,000 home than they do on a $200,000 home because they're getting a percentage. So they will try to get you qualified, and they'll say, oh, Mr. Farkas, you can afford this amount of house. And I remember when Deb and I wanted to be able to have a house payment I could afford just on my salary. And they were like, mystified by that. Well, you can get a lot more house, but we were getting ready to have kids, and we knew that Deb was probably not going to be working full-time, maybe not even part-time for a while, and it was helpful to be just handling on my salary, but they will try to get you. He's referencing here getting a fixed loan, adjustable loans. These interest rates can go up and down. Your payment can go up and down. So not good. You want to get a fixed loan premium, the 15-year. Another way, this is a way that I've done it, is I would get a 30-year fixed when I would do a refi, but I would accelerate my payment. I would do, what's the payment amount on a 15-year, and I would pay that. And then I would always try to round it up, and then when I got a raise, I would pay more. There's some ways, and then with the debt snowball, you could pay much more, pay that thing off quickly. But I liked the idea of I went with the 30-year because I knew I wasn't going to go with that minimum payment anyway. But if the 15-year is more helpful, go with the 15-year. That's what Mike suggested.
And also, if you do get the mortgage, have the mortgage be the last part of the month. And usually people get paid at least twice a month. So you pay 2 weeks ahead of time, how much? And that brings down the total
Yeah.
cost
Yeah, they're tracking the interest being paid, the principal.
because it's compounded.
Yeah.
Daily or
That's an
hourly.
idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as he's saying, don't become house poor. We've all heard stories of people that live in these mansions and they don't have any furniture because they're, dual income and they just, they maxed out on the house. Some people really, really like houses, but
Yeah, and if a realtor says, you can't get any houses around here for less than $250,000, you just keep on with that, and we ended up buying our house for $133,000. And she said, there's no way you're gonna find anything for less than $250,000.
take some perseverance. Yeah.
You only need one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I would say another cost saving thing too is shop your insurances every few years.
I just said that.
We use a broker and just have him do it for us, but usually we'll save a few dollars. And then another thing too, if you have a house make sure you get a new policy especially right now with inflation. We realized that our home insurance policy from 5 years ago would not cover rebuilding our house anymore because inflation has been so high. So we actually redid our policy and upped our limits so that we could actually rebuild the house because, 5 years ago it would have rebuilt the house, now it wouldn't. And so that's just something to pay attention to, which is like a little scary.
And sometimes as the insurance, they'll add a percentage or a factor on the top to add it for another 2% or 4% a year to keep it up to date or closer to up to date on that pricing for the valuation on your home. That's what I did, insurance.
And we use a company called Walker Hughes. They're on the east side, and nobody pays as less as we do. It's whatever English is. And literally, they've given us 2 brand new roofs. Anytime I've had a car accident, it's all paid for. I can't complain. Walker Hughes. Let's compare places.
That's good. All right, so let's see, anything else there? Yeah, just the concept, we see a lot of theme in the scriptures of keeping our lives simple, and you don't want to be house poor. And I'm not knocking, buying a nice house if it's within your financial resources to do so, along with these principles and spiritual, biblical principles. Irregular income strategy. I don't know if this would apply to anybody, but what I think of with this, I had a job, sales job. I was doing recruiting, and I could go 2 months with no pay at all because I had my own. I had to make a placement, and then maybe that next month I had 3 of them come together. But I was, and this was a long time ago, but I was living on credit cards and paying off the credit cards. I'd pay them off, but what I ended up doing was I built in where once I was accumulating enough to save and kind of have a conservative, I think I'm going to make this much in a year. I'm going to take about 75% of that and divide it by 12, and that's what my budget is going to be on. And so I was working on all that stuff, and I got it pretty well tightened down. And then I got to where I had hit enough commissions where I was paying myself a salary and keeping a business account that I was paying myself like I was my own employee on a monthly basis. Where so there's some things you can do, but with the irregular income strategy, let's just say any commission job where it's like straight commission. You want to be conservative and have a monthly based on a conservative, kind of a worst case scenario. What do I think I'd make in a year? Or here's what I think I'll make. Maybe take 80% or 75% of that divided by 12 is your monthly. Reverse mortgages, probably not applying to. They're generally targeting seniors. Bad idea. They're basically you lose your house when you die, but you would get an income off of the equity in your home. Loan consolidations, bad ideas. Okay, let's flip over. We'll just look for any other little nuggets in here. Again, a lot of this stuff we've talked about. Mike talks about his system. The contentment. Being content, there are so many scriptures. That's a whole nother topic we could have done. Do a word study on contentment. It's really powerful. We've talked about a lot of this. His budgeting system. Massaging what you're doing constantly. We may have a good plan in place, but if we do nothing for 2 years, there's going to be a lot of things out of whack. There'll be some surprises. Just like we've talked about here today, that things, their prices are getting jacked up on things, or maybe the insurance coverage is not adequate to the replacement value of the home. There's all kinds of things. You want to massage it. Once you have it really pretty well nailed down, you're still going to need to massage it. Keep getting advice. The baby steps, we already talked about that. Let's see if there's anything on the back page here. Again, this was another, yeah, you could tell these were different items that Mike had put together here. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about devouring all you have. We want to, always want to be able to save and have, less expenditures than income coming in. Not having debt. We've talked about all this. Discipline, perseverance.
I think the best advice I ever got when I finally grew up and put my big girl pants on was consume less. We don't need as much as we think that we need, and understand what is a need and what is a want. And I was going on wants and justifying it as if it was a need. And I went through every aspect of my life, down to how much toilet paper I used, toothpaste, detergent, everything, and minimalized all of that. And so then also, when I am with other people, I don't want to take advantage of their goodness, so I don't, I'm not that person using up other people's resources. I just need this. That's all they want,
Yeah.
And so that's the best advice I ever got.
Yeah, I really
Besides,
like that.
Jesus is Lord, and when I said Jesus is Lord, did that mean that it wasn't over my finances?
Yeah. Good point. Good point. And really, tightening up your budget. How would we like to be able to go in and talk to our boss and say, hey, I need a raise? Well, that might go, but you might not be able to do that, or they say, well, you're not due for another 6 months. But if you tighten up your budget, you did give yourself a raise because you lowered your expenditures. I was like, that's a positive way of looking at the belt tightening that Marion's talking about, I think.
A very applicable piece of that too is every time you pay off debt, you give yourself a little raise.
Yeah.
All those little guys that are hanging on, every time you get, that's how the snowball works. The debt snowball works, but you don't owe that money anymore. You get to keep that money, or you get to, pay down other things faster. And then once you've paid it all down, it's all gone. And
So
you
do
really
y'all
get
treat yourselves in any way when you hit a goal of paying off of something? Do you give yourself a little? You do.
We're
Okay.
going to Hawaii when we pay the house off.
Oh no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like when I pay off something or I do something good, I get to go to Chick-fil-A and get a kid's meal, or something that to me, hey, you did a good job.
Yeah.
Go have an ice cream.
Mike has it in here, celebrate with the McDonald's Sundae.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's whatever. I think it's great to do that. Reward yourself because you hit a goal, reward yourself, and then get right back at it for the next one. Absolutely.
Hawaii, listen to you.
Hey, I think it's good.
Well, honestly, when I was paying off the debt, I got so serious about it that like every time I saw one of those numbers go away, I felt so good. Like, it just felt good to get rid of it, to like mark that off, be like, I don't owe you anything.
Here's the man right here.
That felt
And
good.
isn't it freeing that the money is not on your back anymore? It is like,
You guys got like probably 5 minutes before the teachers are going to lose
That's
their minds.
perfect.
So.
That's perfect. We're about, okay, guys. Hey, we're about through these nuggets. How about another piece of wisdom from Mike? Life is unfair. It is unfair sometimes, or it feels that way. Medical hardships, or layoffs, or the kids have the, hey, I decided I want to play hockey and I've got to get all this equipment, or whatever. Terrible boss, things break. Yeah, I mean, life, it can be tough. So we have to adjust, we have to persevere. God's going to help, and we get through these things. Credit card debt, like a boat that's leaking. All right, strive to not live a life feeling like we're victims. Yeah, give it over to God, keep fighting, do your best. It is, common sense, we've been talking about these things, but we can take control. We don't have to be a victim to the circumstances we have today by taking steps and digging in, no matter where you're at, get help, get advice, You got some good tools to get started, you know, some good resources we've talked about. You guys can do it. Maybe it's just fine tuning, that's great. Maybe it's some wholesale digging in there and hitting it real hard. That, you know, whatever it is, go forward, embrace the simple life, live below your means. And we've talked about this, you guys know. Okay, any other?
I'm curious to find out what ideas people have that have, you know, worked for you.
Oh, I said go to the store and get those coupons, like the little, like Kroger CVS stuff. And if you play it right, like, you can basically get like $10 back. And then you can use that on anything in the store. So, coupon deals.
I use that app called
Yeah.
Flip. So when I want to know where is the deal, it'll tell me for the grocery stores and stores in general.
Michelle's thing,
Or,
is
you
it
know,
free?
Google and
Yeah.
comparing
Look
prices.
for those coupons. People come into my
Is
store
that
and they
Facebook?
have like a
Yeah.
$30,
Marketplace?
$40
Find a thing.
receipt thing,
Mm,
come
I've
in,
used
they're
Play
like,
Now
use their coupon,
Yeah.
save it up, it's like $4. So, you play it right. You
CVS.
Okay.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Buy nothing on Facebook Marketplace.
Why is
Buy
that?
nothing?
It goes by zip code, your zip code of where you live. And those people in that zip code, they have free stuff that they're getting rid of. They just,
Oh, yeah.
and you
It's the
just.
most off the wall
Yeah.
stuff.
It
Yeah,
is.
some of it's gonna be crazy, but every now and then there's
And you
gonna
have
be
to
a,
put, you have to put your name in a hat kind of thing, and then they pick the person that gets it.
I actually got my car from Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
But my dad helped me, so it was, you know, it was all.
Sign up,
Pay cash. Yeah.
Yeah, we sell stuff.
I've got a question to the whole group. Who needs budgeting help in this class? Does anybody really need budgeting help? Cause that's.
Or,
that's-
yeah, you can come to us independently
Yeah.
too. If you
Yeah.
wanna.
That is probably the big thing, is get the help you need and work through the issues. Because if you work through the issues, you'll make progress. If you don't, you won't. So don't be shy, because even when we went through Financial Peace, the Dave Ramsey class, there were a lot of people to help out with that situation, but we've got people here in the church that can help too.
Yeah.
So please utilize these guys, myself. If you need help, we can get you help, or get you the right person, or if it's a car, if it's insurance, if it's whatever the case, legal help. There are people in the church that can help.
Yeah.
So please utilize the people that are in the church. It's amazing what help they can give you.
And they're not gonna tell anybody.
They're not. It's confidential. Yeah. We all struggled.
Yeah.
Man, I struggled when I was growing up, and I had 2 kids going, and couldn't make the car payment, and
Yeah, that's the reason Dave Ramsey is a whole thing. It's because it's not intuitive. Everybody's out to get your money. You have to learn how to do it.
It's a big deal.
It's hard.
I lived in Chicago, and it was expensive to live up there. And I'm telling you. I lived in Chicago, and it was barely making it with 2 full incomes. I mean, it was tough.
well, thank you guys.
Thank
Again, you know where to find us. Thank you, you're graduated.